Minister, in your speech, you touched on a number of occasions using the phrase "with the greatest needs," those with the greatest needs. Now, you said that the clear instruction from government in terms of eligibility was to focus on those with the greatest needs. But what I'm worried about is you also spoke about to make the criteria for the scheme very broad would open up new categories of eligibility, and you are worried about the effects of the cost of that. Can I ask you then, is it a case that from a situation whereby you're trying to help people, you're actually going to narrow the parameters of those that are going to be helped because there's an overreaching arm from the influence of deeper on this, and that in effect those that require help can find themselves on the outside because of a fear that this is going to spiral out of control, if I'm reading between the lines of what you're saying? Because of course, you have the issues of cost to deal with in your role as Minister, but of course the rationale is to allow people fully participate in the workforce, in social events, for them to have a full life that they can participate in. So can I ask you on that, is there an overreaching arm here that's really going to restrict the ability of this scheme to achieve what the Ombudsman is seeking, what all public representatives are seeking on behalf of people? You asked, that's my first question. The second question is, you asked in terms of, or you spoke about the numbers and estimating the numbers. And there's obviously currently 4,700 receiving interim payments. Can I ask you how you're estimating the numbers of what you're likely going to have in terms of, obviously, in terms of finalising the criteria? So what is the final likely number going to be? And is it being determined by a cap on what monies are available to you? And again, you talked about helping those in the greatest need. I really would like, Chairperson, if the Minister could quantify that for us this morning or this afternoon. I am particularly worried about that and the scope and the amount of people that it could help. And again, this influence of deeper on that. That would be my second question. And finally, Cathaoirleach, the Minister touched on, talking about people and using public transport in terms of the rationale for the requirement for this scheme. And if people are not able to use public transport, well, this cites an example. Even, Minister, where we have people who can use public transport and who are acquiring public transport to get into the city, not every public transport vehicle actually can facilitate those, whether they be in a wheelchair or so forth. And it's hit or miss in terms of the bus that pulls up, especially on provincial routes into the city. And that is just simply unacceptable. And in terms of your role with Bus Éireann and Minister Ross in actually making sure that people, they have to ring ahead. Now, we have a problem at the moment that nearly because of a semi-industrial issue with Bus Éireann, buses aren't coming full stop. But imagine if you need a specific bus to be able to come in and do your job, and you can't get on that bus because it doesn't have the actual requirements to allow you to board and become a passenger. Thanks, Chairperson.
Okay, so questions about impact, questions about numbers, questions about the most in need. So please.
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank Deputy Cassells for raising these very important issues. And in relation to the greatest need, as you know, there's 4,700 people already receiving that. Now, there are people putting forward the proposals that if we broaden it out and go further, you could be going up as high as 20,000 people. That's the first thing. In relation to, while at the moment, while this legislation is being finalised, it's important to know that the 4,700 are getting the €208.50 per month. That's an annual cost of 9.3 million, just to let you know that. So that's going on at the moment. I want to ensure my own personal preference is to, first of all, target those most in need, but then to broaden it out to people who have broader needs, but of course have serious disability and mobility problems. That is my own vision for the piece of legislation.